Welcome to the executive briefing. I'm going to cover 4 topics today. The first one is give you a quick background on marketing evolution. Then I will take you through a case study, give you a live demonstration, and talk about how the measurement and analytics work, and then discuss next steps. The key theme is about how key changes in marketing and measurement and optimization are changing the landscape. And there are many opportunities this creates for marketers. So first, let me give you a little bit about what we do for marketers. As you can see over in the chart on the right from Forrester's latest measurement optimization wave, we are the top-ranked company in the space. Forrester analyzed 67 different companies in our area and named only 3 leaders, and you can see we're in a class by ourselves. The reason is because we do something that the rest of the companies don't do. We measure every single message to every single person, and we analyze what both attribution and mix, and allow for ROI planning. And we have software that helps with the workflow management. And in many ways, we deliver more than attribution. We deliver marketing intelligence. So we do optimize every message to every person, and that gives you ROI upsides through better creative rotation and message targeting. That also leads to better media mix, and ultimately gives you better productivity from the overall marketing budget. We can help you set the appropriate marketing budget and also identify where you can save some costs. The way in which we're different, as I mentioned before, is that person-level optimization. And to make that, and it ties all kinds of different data around an individual person. So as we've gone through this process of using the graph schema and analyzing data at the person level, we've identified several different things that are unique. Number one, we hear a lot of people in the industry talking about the ROI of, say, television, but we find that that's actually a misnomer. The truth is it's not the ROI of television or social media or digital. It's the ROI of individual messages which are delivered in television or digital or social, etc. And what that means is I can take the exact same media budget and I can run a different message and I can get a different ROI. I can take the same budget and adjust the creative rotation or the targeting of the messages and or the message rotation and improve ROI. And that's a great thing for marketers. So if you get down to the person level, we unlock a lot more opportunity to increase the ROI and productivity of marketing. Now, the second thing we've realized as we've gone through and done this work over the past decade plus is that we have to give you very detailed optimizations down to the insertion level for every impression, and we have to do that at a speed that's while the campaign is still live. That's the key for you to get 20 to 40% higher ROI than what you would get from a marketing mix model. The other thing about speed is we want to be able to onboard customers very fast and be able to turn these on for you. And we can now turn our systems on in less than 60 days and get you to your first optimization. That is incredibly valuable because what it means is that we've automated and have in order to benefit from our approach to optimization. The fourth point here is leading indicators and brand behavior. As we worked with lots of marketers, what we recognized was that if you're optimizing on sales and not fully accounting for an individual person's brand perceptions and how their intent around the purchase of the product and how advertising shapes that intent, you're missing a huge part of why we advertise and market. And we know that marketers come in with a perception of what they need to do to influence consumers' beliefs about the brand and attitudes towards the brand. But most of the analytic systems out there don't do anything to account for that brand to behavior linkage. And we do that at an individual person level. And we found that that gave us a huge advantage because we could get ahead of the purchase and the sale with a leading indicator model to see which direction people are leaning in terms of their purchases and how advertising can help influence data and information here. The fifth point that we've learned is simplicity is very important. Dashboards is a very action-oriented, simple, straightforward way of presenting our data and information that helps marketers take advantage of the learning a lot faster. So that's what makes Marketing Evolution different. Let me go ahead and get into that case study I promised, and then talk to you more about with a live demonstration. This is Elwin de Valk. He is a Chief Marketing Officer, and he came to Marketing Evolution in the fall with a serious problem. He said, look, my market share is in decline, my category size is shrinking, the controller and CFO want to take budget away from marketing because then they can take the dollars straight to the bottom line, and at least we'll make this quarter's profit number. But Elwin did not think that was a good idea. He didn't see how spending less in advertising and marketing was going to reverse their market share decline or the category size shrinking. What he said was our real problem is that we get our data too late. It's a fourth quarter campaign. We'll run that, and we won't get our marketing mix model or attribution back until sometime a month later or a quarter later in some cases. And while that helps next year's plan, he needed to fix and improve marketing productivity immediately. What he wanted, and he drew this chart for us, he said, I want to get the in-campaign optimization, that learning cycle, immediately. I want to get that while the campaign is still running live. And so what Marketing Evolution delivered was we delivered insight and information about the specific creative impacts for online and different online creative rotation. We did the same thing for television down to the individual message level. We showed them how they could use radio, where they should target by spending in different segments, because different segments of consumers bought for different reasons and were motivated by different messages and different media. And ultimately, we optimized their media mix and even how to respond to competitors when we saw a strong competitor launching a message. Now, the sum result of all those changes was that industries in market share, 3% growth in the category, and the controller independently calculated that the changes that we made were worth $27 million in incremental profit to the bottom line. Now, this was a great success, and Elwin was promoted. It became the source of an industry award from the ANA, their first accountability award. It was written up in books. And I share this example because we did this 10 years ago. And it demonstrates that we've been at this for more than a decade, and we have learned how to get very efficient and very effective in delivering this in-campaign, person-level optimization. So now, fast forward 10 years to today, and we've won the Advertising Research Foundation's gold medal for big data. And what you're looking at now is the software that we use to deliver those solutions. And over the decade, we've made it faster, easier, and more detailed. So what you're looking at in this software here is what we call the hero chart, and that's this blue and orange line, and that 24% upside ROI that we found for this marketer. This orange line here shows how much of the budget they've spent. So this is an optimization that we're giving right now, right in the middle of the campaign. And what you can see here is we've been giving optimizations throughout the campaign and improving the overall ROI performance for this marketer. The blue line represents a business as usual, the trend that the sales are on. And the orange line represents how much incremental upside we can create by adjusting the creative rotation message target. It is being integrated, real-time weather data, search data, social media data, brand trend data. Everything that influences that marketer's success is accounted for and being brought into what we call the ROI brain. I'll give you a live demonstration in a moment about what this software looks like, but let me go ahead and tell you, a few things that we found and just have a bit of a discussion about what might be important to you. I mentioned that speed was really important, and so I want to check in with you in terms of what your current speed of attribution is and how long it takes for you to get optimization results for all your media channels. And of course, I want to ask if you'd like that to be faster than whatever lag time you have. Secondly, I'd like you to consider and just score yourself on what is the level of detail of your offline and online optimizations. Are you able to see all the way down for online, for example, down to individual Facebook targeted messages? Are you able to see in television, every single TV ad and every single message in every single individual TV program that's airing? Or in that case, many times people are getting a high-level optimization, like how much they should spend by TV day part or network grouping type or genre, but that's not as detailed as an individual message. Third, score yourself on, is it possible that the value of brand building isn't accounted for in your attribution modeling? Are you either not accounting for brand building at all in your model, or is it being integrated just with a high-level brand tracking study and not at a person level to see how changes in individual brand perceptions directly translate to future purchases and sales? Fourth, and this is an important one for if you sell in a physical world, is the location of each distribution taken into account. We found in our work with Walmart, for example, that the top 3 deciles of most profitable customers for Walmart were almost entirely explained by how close they live to Walmart and how convenient it is. And therefore, the advertising and marketing messaging needed to account for that and weight the advertising and targeting based upon who is most likely to convert. It also allowed us to tap into geofencing and decide when to deliver online messages through geofence based upon proximity. Does your attribution model currently take into account where people live, where your stores are located, and the gravity models for how that influences advertising effectiveness? And then fifth and sixth, just make a note of if there are other disadvantages of how you are currently attributing or optimizing advertising results that you would like to improve, that you can see being better. Okay, now that you have a scorecard, and we can talk about that for a bit, let me go ahead and build on your discussion and points of view on your scoring and share with you how we approach attribution. I mentioned before it's person-level measurement, and now we're going to show you how it works. First thing, in terms of onboarding, we onboard customers in under 6 weeks, mainly because we already have 90% of the data we need. So what we want to do in the first part, what we call the crawl phase, is we want to define success of your business, whether that's sales or profits, and get specific about what are the factors that drive your success. And that will take us one day, spending on site with you with 45-minute meetings with each person and maybe a group meeting at the end of the day. Then we'll work with your agency and your marketing team to turn on connections between your media data to directly feed our ROI brain. And these are things that we automate. These are things that in most cases we just turn on a few switches and do some due diligence to make sure the data is accurate and correct. And that then activates the dashboard, which you've taken a look at, and we'll look at in more depth in a bit. And then we're into our first optimization within that 60-day period of time. And then from there, it's supporting you and getting into an ongoing optimization rhythm. And eventually, if you've got multiple products and brands, getting you to portfolio optimization. So the first part about how our system works is that we've got all the data in the system, and we just need to turn on your media data and potentially your purchase data, and we use partners like LiveRamp to activate that part, and then everything else is powered up in our system. This is a view of the data that already is in the system. We'll have brand perception data at the person level, the location of all your stores and distribution points, weather patterns, local economy, you name it. We've got proprietary data that feeds in from social. If you have a DMP, we'll connect with that as well. If not, we're providing a lot of the data that you would use in the DMP. And what we're going to do first with the data is we're going to begin to look at this connection between that brand to behavior to create a leading indicator model. And our goal is to find the relationship between sales and brand perceptions. So it may be that somebody intends to buy from your brand, has a preference for your brand, but because they live far away from where your store is, they're less likely to convert than someone who lives closer to that store. So by putting those three variables together, we can understand that pattern. Now, we also want to bring in advertising because it may be that advertising makes someone feel more positive about your brand, and that increases their conversion rate. And we want to understand how that linkage works and Now, we've successfully done that in a lot of different categories. There's a published case study of the work that we did with Citibank, which unlocked huge insights for them about how affecting brand perceptions helped increase overall assets and the banking relationship and predicted increases over the course of a year. We've done that in retail with people like Best Buy. We've done that in entertainment, where you don't have any purchase sales when you're opening up a new movie, and you need to look at people's intent and perceptions as a leading indicator of where sales will go. So this is a very powerful system, and we will have benchmarks that we'll be able to activate immediately about how brand usually converts in your category. And then at the 6-month mark, we'll have enough data from your own observations to validate and calibrate your leading indicator model. So we're going to build this up because that helps us optimize even faster than waiting for sales. We will absolutely use sales as part of our optimization, but if we can predict sales, that's even better. And then we're going to do 3 things with our data. First is we're going to calculate a purchase propensity for every person in the country. And so that purchase propensity is going to be based upon where that person lives and how convenient it is for them to buy from you, as well as the profile of the type of people who have bought from you in the past, or the type of consumers that you want to have as consumers as part of your new initiative. So that will help us define the purchase propensity for a consumer. The second of 3 things we'll do is we'll then apply predictive analytics to it. So this is a chart that we will create with you when we define what success is in your category, which was in the center, and then all the factors that influence your success, which are the spokes. So that we call this the hub and spoke chart. And in the blue are the factors you don't control, reviews and so forth. The things that they do control are in orange, like your pricing and your advertising and your PR strategies. So from a predictive analytics standpoint, what we're looking at here for this person, we are looking at the real-time weather for her and the 10-day forecast, so that if we know that bad weather makes her less likely to buy and bad weather is coming in the future, we might want to spend advertising in other places. Conversely, if we know that good weather makes her a little bit more likely to buy, we may lean in advertising a bit more to take advantage of the patterns that are happening in the marketplace. We do that across all the different variables, and the advertising one is the most important predictive analytic one. So let's talk a bit more about that. The third thing we do using advertising is we take from your advertising media agency a direct feed of every single impression you're buying. Planning and buying, we're monitoring what actually gets delivered. So this is a TV ad that's delivered in primetime television. We've broken it down all the way down to the household level of delivery. And since we know where she lives in the household delivery part and the profile of who is watching the program, that gives us her exposure level. Now, we do that for every single media, whether that's direct mail, email, television, out of home, digital advertising of every form, mobile advertising, etc. Everything's going to be connected back to her specific exposure. In her case, in television, she was exposed between the 3rd and 4th decile, and we will compare her to other people that were exposed to either more of those advertising or less of that advertising across all the different television impression deliveries. Then we will analyze the impact, and so we've got the people here and their different levels of exposure at the bottom, and we will look at to see whether or not when we look at sales or the leading indicator of sales, we find differences. Now, if you're familiar with what marketing mix modeling looks like, this chart looks very similar to that response function. What's different about this is that instead of these dots being regions of the country, the way the mix model would analyze it, these are people. And so because of that, we can do some special analysis with machine learning to look for patterns to understand why is it that some people are more influenced by this message and other people less influenced by that message. So this machine learning, called ElasticNet, looks at thousands of different variables. And for example, we're looking at the difference between men and women. And in this case, men are more influenced by this message than women. Or different types of neighborhoods that people live in. In this case, people who live in the top-tier neighborhoods are more influenced by this message than people that live in Rust Belt neighborhoods. Or Facebook likes, people who have this like variables and look for patterns. And it will bring it all the way back to that individual person and say, well, given how the different messages work, what's the best message for her? And when we think about, we'll call this woman Celeste, when we look at Celeste's total advertising exposure, she's exposed to hundreds of television advertisements each week, and hundreds of digital ads, and a few dozen print ads, and out-of-home ads, and et cetera, et cetera. And what we're solving for is how do each of those different advertisements influence her based upon all the variables analysis that we've done. And then her individual person-level optimization, which each of these lines represents a different media, that we will add up all the different people and solve for what's the overall media optimization that best serves your company. So looking at this view, we've got person-level optimization, which then it also interacts with local media optimization. Like if you see a high concentration of the people that have very high value around one of your stores, then this is turning on a geofence around that store. And then national advertising. Line item by line item, it will go through and weight how many people you want to reach within a TV program, for example, versus the people that would not be, would have a lower propensity score. And it will solve for when you should activate and turn on an ad in that particular media or not. It does this person level, local level, national level, all simultaneously, all together, because it's all building up from individual person level data. So in sum, what you will see in the software that I'll demonstrate in a moment is you'll see these heat maps showing for every single ad you have what the ideal profile is. You'll see the relative effectiveness of each of the different ads, and you'll see the specific media plan that's going to get you, 20 to 40% better ROI than if you didn't have this in-campaign ROI attribution. Let's go ahead and take a look at the software, and we'll talk about the optimization rhythms that people use with that software. Okay, so coming into the dashboard here, this is a case example from Warner Brothers, and it's the case example that won the gold medal. And so what we've done is we've frozen time so that you could see what the marketer saw at the mid-campaign point. And we've already been doing some optimization along the line, and we're projecting out 24% ROI improvement based upon the changes. So what you're seeing in the map here is every dot is, for them, their points of distribution. In their case, that's theaters. And we can also look at other data that's being integrated in the data. For example, we can see where all the fans of Rocky movies are, and Sylvester Stallone or Michael B. Jordan. We can look at the real-time weather data that's going on that's affecting, that potentially could be affecting their business. We are looking at all the different factors of media and advertising that they could be exposed to along the lines. So within this situation, this case here, we're also pulling in search data, social media data, page view data, intent data, basically anything that's been defined as influencing this marketer's business. So what the software's been doing on top of all this data is it's then analyzing all the different ads that are running, and the messages and all the spending, and it's figuring out which messages have a stronger influence overall than others. So a mixed model would just take the average, for a media, looking at TV, for example. Whereas here, since we're looking at individual messages and individual people, we can see that the So the first thing the software will do is it will make adjustments to the creative rotation. So if we look at network TV, for example, it will look at what the agency started with and what changes should be made to spend more behind certain creative rotations, such as Streets, Become, and Life, and then spend less on the ones that are less effective. So we see Destiny and No Man and Great down here. That is looking at how each individual person is influenced by each individual message. So if we take this ad Destiny, for example, which is the lowest performing one, we saw that it had a big reduction in the spending. But it didn't go down to zero because that ad is the right ad for certain types of people. If you are 13 to 24, this is the strongest performing ad for you. Contrasted, sending a 13 to 17-year-old the ad Destiny versus the ad Great, if you look at these indexes here, there's a 5x difference between this ad going to that person versus this ad in terms of marketing impact. 5 times difference. So that old message, the right person and the right media at the right time, absolutely true, absolutely right. This software shows you exactly what the right message is. So for Destiny, looking at the age skew and the fact that it works better with Hispanic, African American, female, if I click the bullseye, it will then solve for where should that message be delivered to get the maximum impact and results. And what we see here is that places like ESPN Non-Prime, Comedy Central, Adult Swim, Spike, BET, these are areas that should have Destiny in the creative rotation. Now that's not where the marketers started. They started with all of the media being run in prime time, which is the exact wrong space for that ad to be the most successful. And so by making that creative rotation, we are improving the effectiveness of advertising. Now there are some places where that primetime TV is actually really well served. If we look at this college skew group here with College or More, for the ad Become, and click the same bullseye button there, what we see in that case is that primetime is a good place for that type of ad. So you're seeing all the primetime parts showing up for that part. So the software is solving across all the different messages you have, and its buildable media mix should look like line item by line item, all the way down to the individual creative rotation. And as we look at these impact differences, that's how it's giving you that 20 to 40% ROI improvement every single campaign cycle based upon that in-campaign measure. So ultimately, the software generates big improvements for a marketer based upon optimizing while the campaign is live. So if you go to the overall business button here, what we also do with this part is we've got a workflow that looks at all the different budget and spending, and we can portfolio optimize across multiple different titles and so forth. But very accountable consultants are informed for all these different decisions so that when you see an optimization, you can act on it very quickly. In fact, a key part of our customer success support is helping to map out so that if you want to go and shortcut this and go straight to approve optimizations, you've got a system that will plug directly into your agency's buying systems, either automated or with a slight human decision making involved, and the marketer can act on it very quickly. So in this case, everything gets defaulted to yes, but the marketer or agency may say, you know what, even though the software sees that Destiny ad is working better with a Hispanic audience, the movie's in English, and therefore, we don't want to lean heavily into that audience and that population, so we're going to flag that as no. Or maybe you've got a big deal coming up with a particular network part, and even though it would be a little bit more optimal to cut some of the budget back, you might want to leave that in to help for something else that you're planning. So you can add a human layer on top of what the system's automatically doing, and that workflow just makes it really easy to go from insight to action. Marketers move to a weekly optimization strategy. Some cases that can be happening hourly or in near real time. And then there's a monthly check-in and deep dive about what might be some areas of a learning agenda that you'd want to test and learn, so we can help you on the road to increase your productivity with all these new technologies and person-level targeting. And then, of course, we'll support your annual budget planning, either annual or semi-annual strategy workshops around setting budget and plans. So that's what we deliver as a case study, and that's how it works. And so finally, what we'll do is we'll wrap up with some next steps.